First of all, I am a native Texan. Usually when I introduce myself as Andre Ford, I get that look. I am from Texas, okay, if y'all know what that means, okay? My Fords are all in College Station, Bryan, Texas. How to bid. I've been in the construction industry, like she said, since 2001. I know in this room we have a lot of different types of services and products that we offer. So we'll kind of make this overlay and a baseline of how to put these together, whether you're supplying a good, a service, or your actual contractor, okay? Knowing your customer is very important, okay? Why is that important? Because in order for you to propose together and bid together, you got to know who you're dealing with, okay? So when is your RFP or when is your bid take place, okay? Obviously, that's very important. And where are they going to be delivered, okay? Are they going to be delivered in the town that you're proposing to submit a bid, or are they going to be delivered out of state? Are they going to be delivered, is it a federal job? Okay, so there's obviously some things to consider about where, when is going to be taking place. Where location is your bid open, okay? Is it going to be open privately? Is it going to be opened publicly, like all the City of Memphis jobs are? So you got to know where it's going to be and when it's going to be. How? Okay, how are you going to deliver it? Is it going to be delivered via email, regular mail, yada yada. Private bid opening. Who are you delivering to? Okay, that's very important. We submit a lot of different proposals and RFPs on a regular basis. Who is very important. We're a subcontractor. Okay, so obviously we submit our proposals to general contractors, possibly other subcontractors, directly to owners. But that's important because every entity that you submit bids or RFPs to may have different types of paperwork. For instance, the City of Memphis, right? You submit a job to the City of Memphis. Typically, what do you have to have in the City of Memphis proposal? Anybody know? For one, you got to have your actual bid proposal on their form. Okay, if it's not on the City of Memphis form, if you don't have their envelope, City of Memphis form, then obviously, of course, you got to have the right kind of paperwork. Okay, so a lot of times, different government agencies, whether it's federal, local, state, they will have their own particular type of paperwork that you have to submit with the RFP or a bid proposal. So that's obviously very, very important to know what you're dealing with. And how do you know that? Well, you get that out of your plan specifications, okay? You get that out of the actual RFP. So the description of work will usually tell you, okay, what you have to submit with your bid. I can't tell you how many times that I've actually gone to an RFP, thank you, or a bid opening, and the correct paperwork wasn't submitted, and the City of Memphis rejected your bid, okay? Right off the bat. Matter of fact, if you don't have the right paperwork, they will not open you. Okay, so that's happened a lot. It's happened to me before. Okay, so it's very important to know who you're dealing with and what you're submitting and who you're submitting to. Knowing your project. Okay, we can go a lot of different ways with this, but wanted to specifically state that if you're submitting a federal job, okay, if you're submitting a proposal for a federal job, typically with a federal job, you're going to have a substantial amount of paperwork that goes with that, okay? If you're submitting just a regular estimate to a different contractor, typically you're not going to have a lot of different, kinds of paperwork that you have to submit with that, but that's important to know. Does it have to require, does a bid or RFP require a DBE participation, okay? Disadvantaged business enterprise. Does it require MBE participation, minority business enterprise, or women-owned business, or is it an 8A job, okay? Is it an LOSB job, which is a locally owned small business project, okay? These things are important to know because if they do require these things, and if you qualify, okay, possibly as a locally owned small business or DBE, then those are certifications that you might need to go ahead and get because they can help you with your bids and proposals and help you possibly get work, okay? So it's very important to know those things. Plans and specifications, okay? In order to submit a bid, you got to know what you're looking at, okay? You got to know what you're doing. You got to know the scope and depth of what you're looking at, okay? If you're uncomfortable with something, then you shouldn't bid, you shouldn't send an RFP, you shouldn't send a bid proposal on it, because if it's something that you don't quite understand in the plans, if you don't quite understand it in the description, in the RFP, then it's something that you probably should do, okay? The reason why I say that is I see it all the time, where people submit bids, right? RFPs on things that they don't quite really grasp the scope of the work. And typically what happens in that instance is somebody get out there and lose a substantial amount of money, okay? It's very, very important to understand what you're looking at, okay? If you can't read a set of blueprints, then you probably should be bidding on that job, okay? That's just standard deal, but you need to understand what you're looking at first and foremost on your plans. Addendums. Most projects will have an addendum. An addendum is just a change to scope on a job, okay? Whether you're supplying a good or service, if you're submitting an RFP or bid, a lot of times an architect or city of Memphis or a government agency will send out addendums if they have to change any description to the plans, okay? Allowances. What's an allowance? Typically, in most projects, when you're getting ready to submit a bid, the specifications will have certain types of allowances in it for you to include in your proposal, okay? Why am I mentioning allowances? Because many times I've seen, even when we do consulting work for people, people will miss these things, okay? When they miss them because they didn't go, fully through this plan's specifications. Well, an allowance, typically a contingency allowance, the city of Memphis usually adds those on their projects, okay? Usually it's 8 to 10%, okay? That's something you don't have to add in your bid proposal, but there's also other allowances, okay? Door, hardware allowance, it can be various different things. But some of these allowances can be pretty hefty, okay? And so if you don't include those in your proposal, and you submit a number on that, obviously when you receive, or if you're awarded that job, okay, based on your bid proposal or your RFP, then that allowance will be included, okay, into your proposal. That's supposed to be all inclusive, okay? So allowances are things that people miss sometimes that can really, really cost you on your bottom line. And RFI is a request for information, okay? So when you're submitting a bid to somebody and you have a question, okay, and you want some clarification, okay, that's what RFI is. All right, so you usually send those to whoever's administering the project. So, for instance, I'm bidding on a job at the VA, okay, and the architect is a local architect, and I have a question about something on the plans, okay. Typically, if you have a question about something, then you send a standard request for information, okay, and they'll respond to you within a certain amount of time. Why is that important to know? Because if somebody else has a question, okay, typically when we bid things, you're going to be bidding against a lot of different companies, right? Unless it's something where it's a government job and it's a sole source job and you don't have a lot of competition there as far as the bidding process is concerned. But the RFI is for everybody to see. That's not just inclusive to you and your question. Okay, so if I have a question about the job or about this proposal, and I'm kind of unclear about something maybe on the plans or inside the documents themselves, then I will send out a request for information, and then they will send out a response, okay, within a certain amount of time before the proposal is due, to answer that question so everybody can have that answer. Does that make sense? Okay. Project duration. Why is that important to know when you bid a job? Duration is important because that helps you figure out what you have to have on the job as far as labor, expenses, those things of that nature. So if it's a 3-month job, 6-month job, a 30-day job, that's very important for you to know. And Rod's location is important. If it's in town, typically you're good there. But if it's an out-of-town job, if you do things out of town, then per diem may be one of those things that you have to factor into your bid proposal. Mississippi jobs have what they call MPC numbers. You guys familiar with an MPC number is? I know you know what it is, but does anybody else know what an MPC number is? It's a material purchase certificate, okay? So anytime you bid a job or a proposal or anything in the state of Mississippi, there's no sales tax, okay? Sales tax is automatically included in the MPC number, and the general contractor, if you are a general contractor, you have to apply through the state of Mississippi for an MPC number. Okay, and that NPC number is given out to all of the subs before the job bids. Okay, and so they know, all right, what the NPC number is, and so you do not include any sales tax. All right, that right there alone has gotten several people that I work with. It's causing them to lose several projects, substantial now, dollar wise, because they include sales tax. Okay, so they can kind of skew, obviously, what your bid, proposing amount is. Okay, and regional wage rates. All right, that's important too, location wise, to know what wage rates are. Of course, we propose when we do work, we provide a product. Okay, and we provide a service. Okay, so if we go out and do something for Flint Co. Construction, we're going to go out and pour some walls. Okay, in the city, say it's a standard city of Memphis job. Typically, city of Memphis is going to have a wage rate. Okay, building or highway wage rate, and that's important for you to know. Why? Because it's going to help you figure when we, of course, as we go along the presentation, it's going to help you figure out what you need to include in your bid as far as labor burden. Okay. So that's an important factor for you to know, because that can also cost you a substantial amount of money if you do not factor that correctly. Okay, so you have a concrete foreman, standardly, say you pay this guy $20 an hour, and it's a city of Memphis job. Well, the building highway rate for a standard cement worker for the city of Memphis with fringe benefits is like $25 an hour. Okay, so if you have in there plugged in $20 an hour, but you have to pay that guy $25 an hour, okay, obviously that's a big difference there. It's going to cost you on your bottom line. Be very, very, very aware of wage rates. Okay. Then we get to the nitty-gritty stuff, understanding cost. Okay, and how do you put together a bid and understanding cost effectively? Now, there's a lot of different companies in here, right, and a lot of different types of services and goods that we offer. Okay, we're in construction, and so obviously we offer a service to people to provide a product. Okay. Some of you guys just specifically just do goods, okay, where you're selling material, okay. So obviously your costs are going to be different than my cost, but you have to understand these things, okay. You have to understand your overhead costs, your direct costs, and your indirect costs. We'll go through that. General conditions apply to everybody, okay. General conditions apply to everybody. What are general conditions in construction? Now I'm just speaking primarily on construction because that's what we do. Construction has 16 divisions, okay. There's 16 divisions in construction. All right, the first division is general conditions. What are general conditions? General conditions are things that are generally on every project. Okay, so here's some examples of it. Supervision. Okay, you got, typically we put out, there's a foreman or there's somebody responsible for making sure the work is done in the field. Okay, you have cleanup usually, you have tools and equipment. There's phones. There's storage units sometimes we have to provide. Temporary toilets. Allowances, usually, okay, are in the general conditions. Permits, bonds, and insurance is where that also goes. But there's also a lot of different other things in general conditions. I want to condense that down to where you guys have some examples of what that is. But when you're figuring cost and you're putting your proposal together, you got to understand what your general conditions are. Okay, so for instance, you provide...
I actually provide, I'm looking at any kind of business that would need accident protection, which is different from worker compensation.
Okay.
So I can either do group on that or I can do individual on that at a very low cost. So that's what I'm looking to fill the needs for people.
Gotcha. Very, very good. So they provide a service, basically like almost like insurance, right?
I'm sorry.
Is it almost like insurance? Is that what you?
Yeah.
So it's generally like insurance. So for instance, she's putting a proposal together for me to do some of my risk insurance, right? So typically when she puts an insurance or proposal together for me, she's going to have some standard conditions that she has to put inside of her estimate to me to make sure she covers her own cost. Direct cost, okay, are things that pertain directly to what you're doing and what you're providing. Labor, okay, materials, equipment, those are direct costs. You can associate a cost with that directly to that project or directly to that bid or that RFP. That's a direct cost, okay? Labor burden, like I said before, is a direct cost, okay? So that is factored into that project, okay? There's always a factor of labor burden. And construction, when I do consulting for people in the construction industry, typically the standard labor burden rate is 30%. Okay, why is that number 30%? You guys have any idea? If a guy is paid $10 an hour, okay, if he's paid $10 an hour, I like doing easy math because I graduated from school in Arkansas. Easy math, $10 an hour, 30% of that is what? My mathematician right here. $3, right? So for every hour that guy works, what do you need to add as far as labor burden? $3. Where does that $3 come from? Did I just arbitrarily throw out 30%? That labor burden comes from, first of all, experiencing what you do in your field. Okay, we do site work. Okay, my labor burden obviously is going to be a little different than a guy that's a roofer. Right? He has more risk. Okay, he obviously pays more insurance. There's other factors that goes into that labor burden. Okay, if I'm a painter, okay, my labor burden is going to be a little bit different. Okay, than your labor burden. But typically 30% is a good rule of thumb. Okay, so that $3 covers what? FICA. It covers, what else does it cover? Unemployment, right? Social Security. What else does it cover, Mike? There's one more thing. Let me put you on the spot, brother. I had to get you. Okay, well, it also, that's right, insurance cost. Okay, so that burden factor for every hour that someone works, okay, there's a factor there. Now, where does labor burden not apply? Doesn't apply, okay, on your direct costs unless if you subcontract some portion of your job out, okay, if you subcontract some portions of this proposal out to another company, obviously that is not a direct cost that you factor in the labor burden, correct? They factor their own labor burden to supply a service or a product to you for that particular work that you're asking them to do. Does that make sense? So if I sub out, say for instance, I got a $100,000 concrete job, okay, and I sub out 50% of that. I have $50,000 that I'm subbing out to ABC Company. ABC Company, for that $50,000, I'm not going to apply a factor, okay, of 3% or 30% to their number, okay, for labor burden, because they have their own labor burden. It's their responsibility once I subcontract it to them to pay their own burdens. Does that make sense? Indirect cost. What are indirect costs? You have this definition up there. Cost or expense is not directly traceable to a department, product, activity, customer, etc. As a result, indirect costs and expenses are often allocated to the department, product, etc. Okay, that was not my definition. That is Google. Okay, but indirect costs typically are going to be administrative costs. Okay, administrative. So you have administrative costs, office lady or guy. Okay, and office supplies. Cost of doing business or indirect cost. You have a direct cost, okay? My direct cost to do this $100,000 concrete job for Flintco means I have labor out there, okay, guys in the field to get the work done. I'm supplying material, concrete material, where it's, from Metro Materials, but there's concrete material supplier, rebar, a bunch of stuff there, right? Equipment, okay? Those are direct costs to that job. The indirect cost of that is what? So each month, I bill Flintco for a certain percentage of the job complete, right? But who's going to do that? Is my superintendent in the field going to come in the field and do all the paperwork for me? No. Typically, I'm going to have somebody. Now, my company, right? I'm the office lady. I'm the janitor. Okay, I'm everything. So is mine. Okay, but you have indirect costs associated with each project. You got to understand those costs. In order for you to submit a bid proposal, in the correct form and fashion, you got to understand all your costs, your indirect and your direct costs. Okay. Now, once you understand your cost, okay, once you understand that I'm supplying A to this company, and this is what they're asking me to do, based on the plans and based on the specifications. Okay, then you allocate a cost. Okay, for each line item. Okay, what I mean by that is this. I'm gonna do a concrete job. I'll keep referring to concrete because that's easy for me right now. All right. So I got this $100,000 concrete job. All right. We know that out of the $100,000 concrete job, I've got say approximately about $20,000 of that's going to be curbs that I have to supply on that job, curbs and gutter. Okay, so when I figure in my estimate, okay, my proposal, my RFP, when I'm putting that together, I have a line item that says curbs, okay, and I have a labor factor associated with that line item. I have a material factor, subs, if I'm a subs on that, and then I'm gonna have a total, okay, for every line item I'm doing. Okay, now if you're supplying a good, you're still going to do a service, you're going to still have the same process, whether or not I'm out there actually performing some of the work, or if I'm supplying a material. Okay, if you're supplying a material, you're going to have a material, okay, and it's going to cost this much, all right, to supply that, manufacture it, whatever you're doing. You're going to have this much in labor and materials, but you're also going to have a factor of maybe you have to ship it. Okay, you have to ship something, so you're going to have some freight, possibly. You might have those costs. So those are your line item costs. Each line item cost in your proposal, when you break things down, each line item needs to have an overhead and profit factor. Okay, an overhead and profit factor. Now, why do we include overhead and profit on the job? That's how you build, that's how you make money. Okay, right? So when you submit bids and RFPs for things, of course, obviously, you've gotten down what your costs are, and you submit a percentage based on what you want to try to make. We all know that in this business, okay, whether it's your goods or services type business, we have something in our head that, hey, this is what I would like to make on this job. All right, I'm gonna submit a price to the city of Memphis for these curb replacements all around the various parts of the city for this much money. Okay, but my cost, okay, if it's a $100,000 contract, my cost may be $70,000. So my overhead and profit is $30,000, right? If my cost is a $100,000 contract, my cost is 70, then obviously my overhead and profit is 30. Okay, so that's how you usually do that. So overhead and profit is, now you got to understand too. When I want to talk a little bit about this.
That's a line item. You just have to know your market.
That's where I was going.
You can, you can go. Some markets might be 5%, some might be 25%. But that just knows time and knowing your market, your business, what you can do to make how much profit you can make in different geographical areas and that kind of stuff.
That's right. When it comes to knowing your customer, okay, you got to understand your market, okay, and your customer. All right, you got to know your competition. If you don't know what your competition is doing, then you're behind 8 ball. Right? In order for you to successfully get bids and projects and successful RFPs and awards, you got to understand how to bid. Right? There's one thing that we always say in construction: we don't like leaving money on the table. All right? I don't like leaving money on the table. If I'm a low bidder, okay, I want to be as close to the next guy as I can. All right? But how do you do that? How do you understand your market? Okay? Well, it comes with sending out proposals. It comes with understanding, okay, if I have my cost figured and I put 20% on it this time, but I got beat by 10%, what does that tell you? Huh? Yeah, maybe I need to cut it back a little bit, right? Okay, but it's very situational. It's one of those things that it's always a moving target. There's no real good answer to it. You just it's a feel for what you think your market is doing and what your competition is doing. Okay, it's a feel, all right? Typically, when we do jobs, Campbell Ford wants to make at least 20% on every project. Okay, 20% is our number. If I don't make 20%, I'm upset. Why am I upset? Okay, well, we got to understand that there's a cost of doing business too, right? Remember we talked about those indirect costs? About that lady and those office supplies and all those things. So if you don't have the right allocation, okay, on your overhead and profit, okay, then those things kind of, you don't have to, trim back some other places. So it's very important. Bidding and putting proposals together is very important, okay? That is the lifeline of your company. I don't know how else you get work unless you submit bids and proposals.
One thing I'll add to that is, I know a lot, and I've seen it a lot over the years, but a lot of people take their overhead and profit, and they don't even know what their business cost is. Okay. Then 6 months down the road, they made money on several projects, and with their bank account, they don't have any money, or they're borrowing money. So they have spent money off of job A, covering job B to do job C, which sometimes you do have to do that because of the payment. Some might be 60, 75, 90 days to get paid. I understand that too, trust me. But what I'm saying is each job should have a budget to go along with if you are awarded the contract, and you need to stick with that budget to get your business to the next level. I will say that. I see that a lot.
I'm sorry, ladies. What was it that you guys did again?
Flooring,
Flooring. So you're at the commercial flooring?
with commercial and residential. I have one question about it. You said if you put these bids in and you're a little over or under, but the thing is to get who you send the bids into to give you some numbers back to say were you too high or you too low. So you really don't know the feel of where you need to place your numbers at.
That's right.
When it comes to that.
Normally, if you now this ain't in case of course they have privately public bid opening. Of course, public you go to bid opening, you know what the numbers are. Private just depends on your relationship with the general most of the time, or the estimator. And the more you do it, the more you're personable with them. Most time you can get a little feedback. They're not going to tell you exactly numbers, but you can get some feedback to see where you're at. You know, they usually tell you percentage or get you in the ball game.
Yes, ma'am.
Another thing when you do a bid proposal, you can also ask for the bid tabulations of the previous contractors too.
Absolutely.
That helps out a lot.
Absolutely. We always want to know. We always want to know where we stand. We submit a bid. Okay. We want to know, right? The reason why we want to know is because it's going to help us gauge the next time I submit a bid for this similar job. Right? 'Cause here's one thing too. There's no cookie cutter thing out here, right? There's no cookie cutter. What I mean by that is every project or every bid, RFP, RFI is different. Okay. So what I mean by that is, okay, for instance, you know, we do a lot of work with companies that you know travel and do Dollar Generals, or you have these traveling general contractors that do projects all around the country. Okay, so what it costs to do business in Memphis, is it going to be the same to do, you know, in California somewhere? Obviously, costs are going to be different, right? It's going to be regional. Okay, it's going to be regional. So you got to understand that too. All right, but you're absolutely right. When you're submitting bids, it's important to get feedback from who you're submitting to, okay, to understand where you're at. And then it'll help you adjust what you need to do next time, okay? But that you're absolutely right. That is. Any more questions while we're talking about that? All right, submitting your bid, all right? So once you understand your project, you understand your market, okay? You know who you're submitting your bid to. You got a real good confidence about submitting a number. You have a number, and now you're ready to submit it. Okay. More times than not, what we have seen a lot, even lately, is when you submit a bid, or bids have been submitted that you don't clearly define what you're submitting. Okay. So, for instance, I'm submitting a proposal to ABC General Contractor. Okay. For a certain type of work, okay? And I arbitrarily put in there, a lump sum amount to do this is this amount, okay? Well, typically, a general is going to want a little bit more clarification as to what specifically you're submitting and why that is important. If you're successful, okay, on that bid or RFP, and next thing you know, a couple months later, a month later, you have a contract in the mail, and you're ready to review your contract and go over your proposal with that general contractor or the city of Memphis or whoever the agency is. Okay, if you don't understand, if you didn't clearly define in your proposal, in your bid, what you're submitting, sometimes Sometimes you can get hung with things, right? Well, I didn't have that. Well, you didn't say it, right? You didn't say you didn't have it. So I assumed that you did. Okay? Everybody wants to assume things, okay? You can't assume in this business. Yeah, I'm not in the business of assuming things, okay? So you have to clearly define what it is that you're submitting and what it is that you're providing, clearly. Where there's no questions, after if they read on your proposal, County 4 does not have this, right? It's in writing, okay? So when they're getting ready to negotiate a job with me, they already know where I stand, right? There's no ands, if, or buts. There's no gray area, right? So you got to clearly define that. You got to acknowledge, okay, any addendums. Okay, you know how many times I've seen people lose jobs based because they didn't acknowledge an addendum. So why is it important to acknowledge an addendum?
So that you know you understand every update that we did lately.
Thank you very much. What's your name?
Liz Taylor.
Thank you very much. So, yes, you have to acknowledge that you understand that any other clarification or any revision to those plans or to that proposal or to that RFP, you've acknowledged that you've seen it and that you're aware of it. Okay? Addendums can be really crucial to your bid. For instance, we bid a job a few months ago. The addendum came out about, it was a day before the job bid. Okay? Had I not seen that addendum, I wouldn't have seen the allowance in there to add for $50,000. Okay? Addendums are very, very important to read and understand what you're doing. Okay? Detailed scope, like I said, you need to really clearly define exactly what it is that you're providing for that service or that product. Okay? You need to also have an expiration date of your proposal for your bid. Why is that important? Especially if somebody that supplies a good, right? Say, for instance, you're in the flooring business, right? So your vendors are not going to just have a open-ended, your price is good for 365 days. It's not going to happen, right? They're going to tell you that this is good for how long? Usually 30 days. 30 to 60 days, all right? So in your proposal, what do? My proposal is good for 30 to 60 days. Okay? If you don't put that on there, 6 months down the road, general contract calls. Kevin Ford got this job for you. And I'm saying, well, when did the job bid? Of course, we'll know exactly what it is because, we prepared, we bid it. Okay? I put the proposal together. So I'll know when I send it. All right? But if you don't have a, expiration date on the proposal, then typically they're going to try to still get you to do the job for what you, proposed to do it 6-7 months ago. Well, 6-7 months ago, floor material cost this much. Now it costs this much. Metals really fluctuate.
And I have seen in certain situations, a proposal is a document that will stand up in court. So that expiration date is very, very important. Of course, the general has to carry that to an extreme condition. But if they turn in their number based on your proposal with no expiration date, they can hold you to what your proposal number was. So that is, a lot of people don't put them on there, but that is.
We put an expiration date on everything I send out.
It's very important.
I put expiration dates on emails I send out, read receipts. I want all that. Okay? I want to make sure you see it, that you read it, you understood it, and there's no ands, ifs, or buts, right? Because everybody likes to lawyer up, right? It's like, lawyer up on it. Your proposal is supposed to be good for this many days, right? So it's this bidding, okay, is every bit vital to your business as anything else. Okay, it can really hurt you if you're not careful, not understanding your cost, right? I'm sure you guys have heard of the term in construction called bust, right? You ever bust a job? I have. The first job I ever bust, I was at Wagner General Contractors. And I was feeling myself a little bit. And I had a pretty good, what we used to call the bid ratio. Okay. Typically in this business, for every 10 bids you propose, you probably get 1. Right? 1 in 10 ratio is pretty good. Okay. 1 in 10. If you're better than that, bless you. Okay, yours is better than that. First of all, if you're getting bids in RFPs and proposals, if you're successful on a regular basis, okay, that can tell you something too. You don't want to be low on every job, right? You don't want to be low on every job. I bid a job recently for Memphis Housing Authority, okay, and I was one of 3 bidders, all right. And there was a guy that bid. We were around 900,000, but somebody bid it at 400,000. Okay, I don't want to be low on every job. Okay, that's a $500,000 difference. There's no way, obviously. Okay, everybody else is around $1 million. He's at 400,000. Obviously, there's a bust. Okay, so you don't want to be low on every job. Okay, you want to have the right bid and the right proposal. Okay.
Typically 10%, inside the 10% is basically where you want to be with your competitors. You don't really want to be outside 10.
There's a term in construction called substantially low or substantially high. Anything substantial is over and above 10%. Okay, so if I'm submitting a bid to X, Y, and C general contractor, right? I get these calls sometimes like, boom, you know, Andre, you sure you got that? You hear that talk here, you know, you get a little squirmy, you go, hey, you know, typically, you know, it's not standard business, right? It's not standard. It's called shopping numbers. Okay, if somebody calls and says, hey, where's the market at? I hope none of you guys do that, okay? Because it's not good, right? You don't want to do that. If somebody finds out that you do that, you shop numbers in the bid process, typically, you know, you probably won't get as much work. First of all, you won't get as many numbers, okay, from other people submitting or supplying things to you. That's one of those standard no-nos, right? You don't want to shop numbers, right? But what you want to do, okay, is get information and find out where you are without shopping the number. So I submit a bid to, you know, we keep using Flinco. So I submit a bid to Flinco, right? And he calls me up and says, Andre, you know, you're low. Okay? All I ask is this: am I substantial? No, you're not substantial. I'm good, right? I'm good. But you have to feel good too. If you understand your cost, we went through all these things about how to put a bid together. If you truly understand your cost, if you truly feel good about that, then you should feel good about your number, regardless of where somebody else is. If you feel good about your analysis and the breadth of what you did in evaluating all your costs and all the expenses for that particular bid or RFP, then feel confident about your number. Don't let somebody walk you off your number. Okay? But you got to be prepared first. Okay? You got to understand exactly what's going on with that job before you get a contract and you go out there and complete the work. Okay? Exclusions and inclusions. This may be probably the most important part of the bid, other than obviously your dollar amount and what you're proposing. But including, okay, and excluding things in your proposal is extremely vital. Why? Because, for instance, when we submit bids, there's a standard. We have, standard exclusions. Okay, unless they specifically ask for a bond, if they specifically ask for me to provide a performance bond. You guys understand what a performance bond is? Who knows what that is? I know you know, Tony. Anybody else knows what a performance bond is?
It's like meaning that you're going to make sure that you're backing yourself up and saying, we're going to perform. If we don't perform, then we are liable, whatever. It's like holding responsibility to say you're going to complete this bond and do everything, this contract and do everything that's said you're supposed to do it.
That's right. You're absolutely right. In this business, it's all about risk, right? And shedding risk off to somebody else. Okay? That's basically what this business is. You know about risk, okay? And that's essentially what we do in construction. I get a contract, okay? The general contractor is going to have some language in the contract that basically tries to get him out of a lot of liability and sheds it to me. And in turn, what I do, if I sub it to someone else, I'm going to take that same risk and shed it over to ABC company. Okay? A performance bond is exactly what it is. City of Memphis, you can't bid one without it. They're going to ask for at least 5% performance bond. A bid bond, that's a bid bond. A performance bond is when you get the job, okay, and then you have to perform and do the work. What that means is, okay, ABC company, Camelot Ford has a job, okay, and say, for instance, Lord forbid, we belly up, in the process of doing that job. Okay, my bonding company is going to do what?
Get somebody else step in and finish.
Get somebody else to finish the job. That's what a performance bond is. Okay, why do people have bid bonds?
But it ensures the general that job is still gonna get done for the number that you.
Proposed. And your proposal is going to still get done for that number. Okay, what is a bid bond? We're talking about how to put together a bid, but you know what a bid bond is. Sometimes certain agencies, City of Memphis, will require a bid bond for every job. Okay, for everyone that you send through there. All right, bid bond is 5% of your number. Okay, so what that does is it kind of curtails some of that crazy bidding. All right, you have a $900,000 number, you have a $400,000 number. Okay, what the bid bond is there in place to do is kind of eliminate some of that stuff. Right, bad numbers. All right, and somebody kind of walking away from a job because they have a bad number. If you walk away from a job after 24 hours and you have a bid bond for 5%, that means if I bid for $400,000 and I busted the job, but I want to get out of it, okay, I have to get out of it, right? It's a, obviously there's a $500,000 difference from everybody else. That's a substantial amount, okay? It's way more than 10%, okay? It's over 50, okay? So I want to get out of the job. Your bid bond is going to say, okay, after 24 hours, if you want to get out of the job, you got to pay me 5% of what you bid, okay? So that would kind of curtail some people from sending out bad numbers. Okay, if you have to pay 5% of everything you send out, you ain't gonna make any money. What's 5% of 400,000? 20 grand just to walk away from it. You didn't make anything. I don't want to be that estimator, right? I don't want him to estimate for me. All right, that's not what you want, right? That's why it's important to understand how to bid and to do it correctly, especially for jobs that require bid bonds. Okay, now there's going to be a lot of times where you're supplying, if I'm a subcontractor, right? General contractors are the one that usually have to supply bid bonds. Okay, I'm a subcontractor, so I'm supplying the service and the product. All right, so typically I don't have to have a bid bond, but they still may ask me to provide a performance bond. Why would they do that to a subcontractor? Somebody started to say it. To ensure that you're going to get your work done. A lot of general contractors are doing this now, guys. Just to let you know. If your bid is over $100,000, okay, typically they're asking you now to provide a performance bond. Okay? So you understand that. So inclusions, exclusions. Typical inclusions are going to be anything that we always say this. If we're proposing to do this $100,000 concrete job, okay, we're going to always say we're going to always supply all the labor, tools, and equipment necessary to do the following that we propose. Okay, that's a standard inclusion. Okay, sometimes if I have to, taxes, okay, or if you have taxes included, you want to make sure that they understand and see that you include taxes. Freight, etc. Okay, exclusions are the same thing. Okay, you want to make sure if you do not provide a bond and you're not going to provide one, right, that you exclude that on the front end of the job, on your proposal. Why am I telling you guys this? These are things that we have run into on a regular basis and helping people get out of them based on something they propose or bid. So it can really cost you. All right, so if you don't have a bid bond, okay, or if you don't have a performance bond, make sure you exclude it in your proposal. Anything that you don't want to do, you exclude it in your proposal. But make sure you do that. Okay, I'm done. Okay, and then the delivery. How are you going to deliver your bond or your bid? Fax, email, in person bid. So, there's any questions? Any questions? Good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Lisa Scott Bruton. I'm with the City of Memphis in the purchasing department, and I am senior contract analyst. And I serve the police department, so I procure goods and services for that division. So anything you could sort of think of that police services would use, I procure. Also for Workforce Investment Network. That's mainly services, but it's related to empowering the workforce in the city of Memphis, as well as planning and development. So the presentation today that we put together is to show or stress the importance of supplier registration. Because the question is, if I want to do business with the city, how do I begin that process? Do I go and I talk to someone or form a relationship with someone? That's great. But the best way and the proper way to relay your interest in doing business with the city is to register. That's how you tell the city, I'm here, and adding products and services is how you tell the city, this is what I can provide. This is the flooring, or this is the type of landscaping, or this is the type of insurance. I don't know, those are the 3 different business types of construction that I heard just listening, but that is the way that you form the relationship or start the process of doing business with the city. You must register and you must add your products and services, because that is the way that the city manages its supplier list. So when bids are ready to be published based on commodity, those are how the supplier lists are maintained. So if you register, but you have no products and services on your account, you're not on any supplier list. So when bids go out, oh, I didn't get an invitation, I didn't find out about it, I only have 3 days to, put together a bid. We want your best bid, your best effort. So the way to do that, register, add your products and services. Now the city knows that you're there, and you'll get prompt invitations when bids are published for those commodity codes that you want to provide. The second thing, we'll be showing you just quick how to enter quotes online. These are the RFQs that are published for goods and services for different amounts, but we'll just show you a quick overview of how to enter your bid. And it's really a simple process, because it's sort of disappointing when a supplier says, I can do that, but the bid is, a few hours before it closes. So we know if that bid goes in, it may not be their best effort. And I don't know how to operate the system. So today we'll, show you exactly where to go if you need help. Okay, and how bids are evaluated, how bids or quotes are evaluated when they come in or the RFQs close. We'll show you how we evaluate those. Maybe examples of conforming and non-conforming bids. When you were speaking, some of the items that you were going over, it's, for me, it's disappointing to see, good effort put together in a bid. A supplier has done all the work, maybe they missed a signature. That's a major error. If you don't sign your bid, it's non-conforming, it's not going to be considered for award. Crying doesn't help. We have, hearts too, but it doesn't change the fact that that bid is non-conforming. If there is a requirement, bids must include maybe an MSDS sheet, material safety data sheet. If the specifications say must, that means it's mandatory. You put everything else together. You leave out the MSDS sheet. It should be conforming or non-conforming. Say the other bidders did the same thing. They may be a little bit higher than you, but everything that's called for in the specs, they included. You may be low bidder, but your bid is not conforming. So pay close attention to the specs. And then finally, we'll go over the award process quickly. So I may step through the screenshots pretty quick, but if I'm going too fast, stop me, because I tend to. I've had a lot of coffee. Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll start with supplier registration. Very important, how to register and how to add products and services. That's when you register, you're a known bidder, I'm here, and I want to provide products and services. That's how you start. And the supplier list is how you say, this is what I can provide. So this is where you go. Go to the city's website, memphis10.gov. Under doing business with the city, right here, you click info on doing business with the city. Okay, and then under the business menu here, you click the link for supplier registration. Okay, and then you can read supplier registration, read that section, but right in the middle, you'll see a link that says online suppliers registration form. That's where you want to click. And then that's the form that comes up. You'll enter your company name, all the other relevant information. I think it's not a long form, but complete the form. And I want to say before we move on from that slide, very important, you're going to have to give an email or enter an email address. And that's also a common issue that we've identified. If you use an email address that is not monitored, maybe somebody checks it once a month or maybe once a year, or the email is inactive, then you're not going to get notifications. When bids are published, we're not looking at, okay, let's see, make sure that all these suppliers have good email addresses. No, that's an automatic process. So the email address that you use to register, that's the phone call, or that's the note, it's going to go to that place. So make sure that you use one that's active and is monitored regularly. And if you need to change it, say that person is gone, or you change your email for your company, go into your supplier account, update it, or contact purchasing right away. That's very important. Okay, and after you complete the online registration, there's a link right underneath the supplier registration form for you to complete the W-9. Make sure you complete it. No PO boxes. Make sure it's signed and fax that to purchasing right away. If we receive your registration and the W-9 doesn't come within 24 hours, your registration may be rejected. So first 2 steps, follow those, and you're well on your way. All right. So the next step, when the supplier's registration is approved, you're going to receive a temporary password. So your username is going to be that email address that you use to register. So to get into the e-procurement system, whatever email you use to register with the city, that's your username. The temporary password on your first login, you'll use that temp password, and then you'll go in and immediately change it to one, that you choose. Okay, and then you're going to proceed to add the products and services that you want to be on the supplier list for. So, to the next slide. Okay, and we'll show you some screenshots on how to do that. Now, to get to this point, we've registered, we have our username, which is our email address, and we have our password. So once you have that, you're going to log into the e-procurement site, and under the main menu, you're going to click under CMEM Supplier Portal, and then click Homepage. And you'll see along the top, Home, Order, Shipments, Finance, Intelligence, Admin. You want to click the Admin tab. Okay. And you'll have Profile Management here, Company Profile, and so on. You want to go to Products and Services. You click there. And from there, Products and Services, you'll see ones, and in this example, these are the products and services that are approved on this supplier's account already. But you want to add them, so you click the Add button. And then you'll have the opportunity to search for all the products and services or commodity codes that the city has. And anything that applies to your company, click that checkbox over to the right-hand side. Okay, and once you're done adding products and services, you'll make sure you get this confirmation that says they've been added to your profile. And you'll see when you go back to products and services, you're not quite done. You'll see that the new items are pending approval. Purchasing actually has to review those requests, and once they review and approve them, then you go back, you'll see that those products and services are approved. Now you're on the supplier list. So if you have a good email, if a bid goes out for a product and service or commodity that you've registered for, you'll get that email notification. And that's the way you set it up. That's the way to begin the relationship, proper registration. Thank you. Okay, any questions about that section before we roll on?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Clarification. Once you register, I know by selecting your commodity codes, that allows you to get the notification, the email, right? But are all RFPs, RFQs, are you always notified via email for every single one?
For RFQs that are online, it's always email.
Okay, okay. So, are there any that are not email, you're not notified via email?
Now, RFPs are a different animal. We don't usually include a supplier list.
Okay.
Because the RFPs are coming from divisions, once they're published, they're published on the city website. And then sometimes the divisions can notify potential suppliers or suppliers that they know that can provide that product or service. They can contact them directly. But RFPs, there's no supplier list. That's on the city website, also in the paper to be advised of. But this is strictly online sourcing for RFPs. But RFPs, that's a different notification.
The commercial appeal? Okay.
It is the Daily News.
Okay.
And that's, the Daily News is also used to advertise RFQs for procurements that exceed $50,000.
Is that a daily publication?
I believe it's Daily News, yes.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay. I had to think about it too. We normally send it, I'm trying to see what day. We normally send our advertisements in latest by close of business on Friday, so the advertisements look for Tuesday and Wednesday. Daily News, Tuesday, Wednesday paper, you'll see the advertisements.
And as far as checking the city site for RFPs, would you say checking them maybe twice a week? One day being Friday? Because they know Friday when like the new stuff.
Well, it depends because we publish
Yeah.
every day
Okay.
or as needed. But I would say once a week, fine. But if you're checking the Daily News Tuesday and Wednesday, you're going to capture what's on the city website as far as RFPs and RFQs for procurements that exceed $50,000.
Okay.
So, but Friday could be a good day.
Okay.
But if it were me, I'd probably do Wednesday. That way, if something came up early in the week, I haven't lost 5 days or 4 days by checking it late in the week. Any other questions? Okay, all right, we'll go ahead to sourcing. And this section is going to show you what now, at this point, the supplier is registered. They have a username, password. That's very, very important. Now, how would I go in and enter a bid? So here's the home screen. You enter your username, password, import it. How do I get to the e-procurement site? You go to the City of Memphis website, click business, doing business with the city. Under useful links, you'll see the city's e-procurement system, and just click that link there. All right, so here's the supplier's homepage. Now, anything I'm gonna get your thoughts together. Supplier account management. You want to access the supplier portal. Anything with bidding, always go to sourcing. Supplier portal, that is to manage your account, username, password, commodities. But anything, if you're interested in bidding, searching for bids, that's going to be in the sourcing module. So to get started, you click the CMM sourcing supplier file, then click the sourcing file, and then sourcing homepage. Okay, and this is a screenshot of what the sourcing homepage looks like. Now, if you are on the supplier list and you've been invited to a bid or several bids, there's a section, your company's open invitations. I hope you guys can see that. But those invitations are going to be listed here, and you'll see this is the negotiation number, which is the RFQ number. So if you're interested in viewing that negotiation, you just click the link. So say that you heard about a bid, you're registered, you have your username, password, you heard about or looked at the city's website and you see an open RFQ and you want to know the details because you might want to bid it. Now, if you're registered, as long as that RFQ is not restricted, you can search for it, view it, and you can bid it. Now, what would cause one to be restricted? Tanya's Office of Contract Compliance. If a bid is restricted to SBE, small business enterprises, then that is going to be restricted, so only those companies can access it and bid. That's an example of one restriction. But otherwise, if you're not invited, here's how you find it. Here's a field, search open negotiations, and it is so common that we have suppliers, I can't find it, but here's the way you do it. It defaults to title. If you click the arrow, you'll get a drop-down list, change it to number. And if you know the RFQ number, put it in this field here and click go. That's the way you can search for it. Then you can review it fully, download any attachments because you're logged into the sourcing site. Otherwise, if you're invited, it's gonna appear here and you just click the negotiation number. Okay. All right, and some pointers. Fully review the RFQ by clicking each tab. And you'll see along the top here, you have a header tab that has a description of the RFQ. And we can't stress enough, and I think Andre did a great job too, you have to review the RFQ fully. Not just go directly to the specs, that's an important document as well, but there are also terms and conditions that are in this tab. There's a controls tab that'll tell you when it opens, when it closes, if you can submit multiple bids, which means if you make a mistake, can I send in another one? But all of that is in controls. Under the lines tab, those are the line items that we're looking for, so fully review it. If you look over to the right-hand side, there's an actions field, and those are all your options. You acknowledge your participation from there, you create your quote. If you have a question, very important, submit it via online discussions, and the analyst will receive it, will get your question answered as long as it is submitted in a timely fashion. We'll post up a question and answer document so that all suppliers can have the answer to your question. But the name of the company that submitted the question, we are not going to publish those. So it's just questions, answers. Everyone has the same information. You can view the abstract and you can view quote history once the quote closes. So you'll be able to see what you bid, of course, but you'll also be able to see what others bid. You won't see their names. So if you bid $50,000 or $49,000, you'll be able to see $30,000, $20,000, but hopefully you're not that high. But that's also very useful once it closes. If you know how to navigate the system, you don't have to call and say, hey, where was I? Where was I? As soon as the analyst unseals that bid, then you'll be able to view quote history if you enter a quote. Okay?
How do you know when the analyst will unseal the bid?
You should get a notification.
Okay.
That's why it's very important to have an email that's monitored actively. And if you're interested and you submitted a bid, I mean, you should be, and you also know, I mean, here's the close date, or it was on the first page. It's right there, open and close date. I think it's on the second one too. So if you know it closes this day, then you should be saying, okay, I'm gonna get an email when this, is unsealed.
Okay.
So from there, you go in and view quote history and you can say, oh, we're low bidder, let's see what happens. But being low bidder doesn't automatically mean, you'll be selected. You have to bid to spec, and then, so there's other factors, but I feel good if I were low bidder. Okay. All right, you click the lines tab that we just discussed, and this is very important. Documentation like specifications, a bid form, any other documentation that the division would like attached to that particular quote will be at the line level. And you click lines and you'll see on my example, we only have one line here. It's for carpet removal, but this is where you're going to find your documentation, the specifications. So click the line. I'm sorry, can you roll back? I forgot. I got ahead of myself. So the way that you open the line is you click the hyperlink for the line description. So if there were 5 lines, I want to open line 1, you click the description for line 1. It'll open, you can see the details and so on. So we click the description there. Thank you. All right, and line 1 is open. You can see the full description. There's the category or the commodity code, unit of measure, and then you can see under notes and attachments, there's 2 documents. There's the specifications, and then there's a bid section. So make sure you open those, download them, save them, whatever you would like to do with them. But I strongly suggest if there's a bid section, something that you're going to need to complete and submit with your quotation, that you seriously, you download it so that you'll have it on your computer system. So as you're building your bid, you can go right to the document, fill in the information, so that you're not to the end of it, oh, I got to complete my bid section. We want your best effort. So Let's go to the next page. And these are some sample specs. Now, this is for demonstration purposes only. And we just put together some specs for the removal and installation of sheet carpeting for the finance division. So we're not going to go through all the specs, but we've given the location of the work, which is going to be 125 North Main in room 354, the scope of work. We want to someone to come in, remove the square carpet tiles, take the padding up, remove that debris, and put down new padding and then new carpet squares or tiles. Now, what I've highlighted here is important items that we're going to be looking for when bids are submitted. I don't know if you can see it, but bidders shall quote a square foot price per the bid section document. Enter the grand total price quote in Oracle. The completed bid section must be submitted with the quotation. So if you put together your best effort, you go into Oracle and you enter your price, but you don't complete the bid section, could we possibly consider your bid for award? No. Anybody else think different? No. It will be non-conforming. I mean, that language is very clear. So if I were reviewing this, the first thing I would do is say, all right, these are the required documentation. That is the bid section, and we better have a square foot price, and we better enter our grand total in Oracle and not the square foot price. Say you do everything, you have it all together, but you misunderstand and say, oh no, they want a square foot price. Grand total price is $25,000, but your square foot price, I don't know, maybe 15. So you enter 15 in Oracle. Your bid is $15 for the job. Is your bid conforming? Could we consider it for award? We have your bid section, it's broken down, and we see that you made $25,000. Could we award the bid? Anyone think different? All right, you're right. No, it's not conforming. Okay, so materials. You want the padding, but here's those are the materials that we're just saying, this is what we have down now. This is what's acceptable. Now, it's not saying that that's the only thing that we'll consider. That's just like a quality reference to say that this is the quality of padding and carpeting that we're looking for. Okay, but here's the highlighted section. Bidders must offer a brand that is the same or equal to the current brand in sheeting, size, quality, and color. So, say we have Kelly Green down there. We're not saying that you have to have the exact brand, but something similar. So I have some quality, a similar brand, but the only color I can get is fluorescent green, or maybe lime green. Mm-hmm. Okay, it can be considered for award, but we have, everything's coordinated to the Kelly Green. So that would just, nobody, no. It wouldn't be rejected, or it could be rejected, but you would say, hey, I can't get a similar color. They're not going to accept lime green, carpeting in a business environment, maybe for a daycare or something like that. So seriously, if I confirm that I can't get if my supplier can't give me that color, I need to do some work to find another supplier so I can submit a bid that is conforming as far as color goes. Okay, the next section. Bidders must submit descriptive product literature or brochures for the padding and sheet carpeting proposed in order for their quotation to be considered. So, say a supplier submits a bid, and this is very common. It's kind of disappointing too that you have a bid that they put the effort in, but they didn't include a spec sheet. It's very important. That shows what you're bidding. It shows the brand, the model, and it's a requirement. And if it's not there and it says must, your bid is non-conforming. And pay attention as well that they're looking for a spec sheet for the padding and the sheet carpeting. So be detailed. If you're reviewing it, okay, I gotta have specs on my padding and my carpeting. An oversight on submitting one or the other could get your bid disqualified. Okay, another area, we have use of premises, completion of work, warranty of work. All bidders must submit the manufacturer's warranty information on padding and carpeting. Bidders must warranty the workmanship for a minimum of 1 year. and provide written documentation of such warranty with their quotation. So how many warranty documents should be submitted with the bid? 2. Really? And what, based on what?
Well, I guess 3.
3? I see 2. They're asking for, well, no, actually 3. They want the warranty information because you have padding, carpeting, and there's also the labor to install it. So we want the warranty on the manufacturer's warranty on the padding, the sheet carpeting, and then we want you to guarantee your workmanship for a year. So if you don't have standard warranty, you better create one and say that we're guaranteeing and have it on your letterhead and put it, not that you have to spend any money, but say, I am guaranteeing the workmanship for a year. Make sure you exclude whatever needs to be excluded. Now, we're not going to cover hot coffee being spilled because Lisa keeps going to the Keurig, getting coffee. Okay. Any questions on that?
So there's never a checklist that's included. You probably just should create your own checklist.
You should probably. It depends on how the specs are put together. I would say this: divisions, maybe just putting a list, submit this, could limit your supplier to just say, okay, well, I'm just going to include that. All right, I do the checklist. Maybe there's more information that should be included. But I would create my own. Normally, you're not going to see that on specifications to say we're going to take, this is exactly what you need to submit. It is the responsibility of the bidder to fully review the specs and attach the documentation. Sometimes if you just give them a list, then okay, well, I don't understand what's going on because I didn't review it, but let me call for a spec sheet on the padding, the materials, but they haven't read it. But that would be a good idea, but I don't normally see that in specifications for these type of procurements. It's the responsibility of the bidder to review it and pull out everything that's required and make sure that their bid includes it. All right. So what we have here, this is a sample of the bid section document. If you'll recall, there were 2 attachments, the specs, which we just reviewed, and the division and purchasing decided to, well, purchasing is the division here, attach a bid section document. There's 1 line on this bid, but the bid section document is the breakdown. This is where the suppliers go in and they're going to break that, remove the carpet and padding, remove the debris, cost for the padding, cost for the carpeting, and for the install for both the padding and the carpeting. And you'll see on the bid section here, it says bidders must complete the bid section and submit it as an attachment to their quotation. Failure to submit the completed bid section will cause the bidder's quote to be disqualified, and that was like super clear, no exceptions. So if you don't have this document completed and attached to your quote, it's not going to be considered for award. I hate to say waste of time, but I mean, it's just, you can't be awarded. So you would enter your unit square foot price, and it's based on 1,800 square feet, and this one would set up to where automatically totals the extension and the grand total. Alright. Okay, so if you reviewed everything, you've downloaded the bid sections, the specs, now you're ready to quote. So now we're still logged into the sourcing site, and of course you wouldn't be ready to do this. You would review, print your RFQ if you desire, but whenever you're ready to bid, follow the same steps. Log into the e-procurement site. The first thing you're going to do under actions is acknowledge participation. And here, will your company participate? You can say yes or no. If you don't want to bid, you review it and you see that that's not for me, then you can just say no, you're not going to bid. No harm in that. Any note to the buyer, you can enter that and then just click apply. And then we'll see that you acknowledge your participation. Okay, and you'll see over in the actions field, very important, that's how you move around or initiate an action in Oracle. Create quote and click go. And the first thing you're going to do is acknowledge, read and accept the city's terms and conditions. Now you might say, well, wait a minute, why am I just seeing the terms and conditions when I'm ready to bid? No, the terms and conditions are there. They're in the contract terms tab that went across the top. So if you printed that RFQ and reviewed it fully, you're already aware of what the terms and conditions are. But here is where you acknowledge. So you go down to the bottom of the screen and there's a checkbox that says you've read them, and click accept. And you can't proceed before you do that, okay? And you'll see when you're in create quote mode, you have a header tab and you have a lines tab. On the header, you'll see, and it goes back to what Mr. Ford was speaking about, quote valid until. It's not a mandatory box, so if your quote is valid for whenever, you can leave it blank. But if it's valid for 30 days, 60 days, you enter that date here, you just click the calendar, select the date, and enter. But again, it is optional. Reference number, any note, hey Lisa, to the buyer, but I wouldn't put hey Lisa in there. If you have a reference number, maybe your quote that you put together, maybe in your system, if it's in, it can be an internal number that's important to you. You can fill that in. Again, those are optional. Okay, very important. Seeing quotes that come in missing attachments. I'm hoping suppliers realize that's where utilize the add attachment button. Because I'm hoping they're just not submitting quotes and just purposefully leaving off a document. I'm thinking maybe they don't know how, they don't have time to call, because that's what we're there for, is to help you. So if you need assistance, how do I attach this, attach my bid section? How do I put in my literature? That's how you do it. But you have to be in create quote mode, okay? So there's the header. All right, excellent, thank you. All right, now, here is an example of what it looks like when you have attached documentation. So you have clicked the add attachment button. You'll see that a box will open. You can browse for the document. So wherever you have it saved on your computer, find it, double click it, and then it'll be attached. And here is how you know it's attached. The title of your document will be there, and then you'll see it's from supplier, but once it's listed in this box here, you know it's attached, okay? Because we've had suppliers, well, I thought I attached it. If you don't see it underneath, listed under the add attachment button, then you've made a mistake. Try again. But you'll see, that's okay, can you roll back? Sorry. You'll see this supplier, or in this example, they have a completed bid section, they have their descriptive literature, and they have their warranty information. And you can go in and describe whatever your document is. There's plenty of room to do that. Okay, and then we click the lines tab if we want to go ahead and we're ready. So we made our attachments, now we're ready to go in and enter our price. Remember, we were on header, now we need to find the line. So we can go in and find that very important quote price field, which is right here. So click lines and enter your quote price. And then click continue. Okay. Well, okay, here's in this example, the bidder has entered their quote price, and now they're going to click continue. All right, and when you click continue, Oracle is a great system. You'll be able to see a summary. Before you click submit, you can see that your quote total is here. And you want to make sure it's accurate and it's what you intended and you didn't transpose any numbers. You can also go back to, or if I had scrolled up and it didn't fit all on the screen, to make sure that your attachments are there, they're titled the way that you desire them to. You do have the opportunity to review it before you click submit. So if you're satisfied, click the submit button and you'll get this confirmation. This is how you know your quote's been submitted. You're going to get a message that says quote number for that RFQ has been submitted. And you'll see the system assigns a quote number. All right, any questions on that section? No? Okay. We'll go into how bids are evaluated. Now this is just an overview. Differs case by case, but this is a quick overview. And also talk about conforming and non-conforming quotes. Okay, according to the Purchasing Policies and Procedures Manual, the evaluation of bids and quotes, to be considered for award, the vendor's response must comply in all material respects with the requirements of the solicitation. Bidders must be both responsible and responsive. During the evaluation period, all bid and proposal analysis must remain confidential. So calling saying, what's going on with my bid? Can you tell me where I am? Once we're in the evaluation period, all that information is confidential. That's why you monitor your email. If you have submitted a quotation, when the city takes an action, and if it's done in Oracle, Oracle sends a notification if you submit a bid. Okay, so all proposals must be considered honestly and fairly and evaluated based on what is actually presented in the bid or proposal. Only criteria set forth in the solicitation may be used to evaluate bids or proposals. So just pulling out some points on that paragraph there. Compliance, very important. We kind of talked about it with the specification. The bidder's quote must comply in all material respects with the requirements of the solicitation. So as you're reviewing the specs, any documentation or anything that's asked for, if they say we want 3 references, if it says bidder should submit 3 references, then you should. If you don't, can it be awarded?
Yes.
Anybody think different? If you should submit 3 references with your quote and you don't include it.
You don't have to say much.
Okay, I agree. So it could possibly be considered for award. So watch those must, shall. So review your quotations, make sure you comply with all as material respects of the requirements. Okay, so bidders must be both responsible and they must be responsive. A responsible bidder is a bidder that has the capability to fulfill all the requirements set forth in the solicitation, and they can fully document the ability to provide good faith performance. A responsive bidder is a contractor or business entity or individual who has submitted a bid for a proposal that fully conforms in all material respects to the IFBRP and all of its requirements, including all form and substance. Now, those definitions are from the NIGP online dictionary. So you have to be responsible. That means you're capable of providing the goods or services that are necessary for that particular procurement, and you have to be responsive. That means your bid is conforming. Basically, you provided everything that is called for in the specification as far as bidding goes. And remember confidentiality during the evaluation period. All bid and proposal analysis must remain confidential. Also, read your RFQ terms and conditions. You've submitted a bid, you have a buddy in a division, you're calling them for information. Be careful, because the person that you're supposed to be discussing, if you're not calling the analyst that owns that bid and it's going to be in the RFQ, or if there's a person's name in the specifications, you can speak with them, but I probably wouldn't. It could get you disqualified. So remember, once the bid closes, the information is confidential. When the city makes its decisions, they will communicate it with the suppliers. And be aware that bids will be considered honestly and fairly. And lastly, we're going to determine the lowest and best bidder. Bids must meet the requirements and criteria set forth in the solicitation, the purchase price, and whether the goods or services meet specifications are most important considerations. However, in determining the best bidder, the city will consider other relevant factors, including but not limited to the vendor's qualifications, their quality, reliability of goods and services, delivery terms, vendor's past performance on city contracts. That could be considered as well. Say that you're consistently a low bidder, but you pulled out on many a job, or you don't deliver on time, and you're just basically not providing, good service. Then that can be considered. I mean, they have the low price, but we have documentation where this supplier just does not perform. You will not be awarded. If it's documented that your performance is poor, then that justifies a division not recommending for award. So, all right. Okay, and we want to show you guys what bids looks like once an RFQ closes from the analyst. That's my perspective, or our perspective. Once we This one's unlocked only, so while the analysts are reviewing them, it's unlocked only, we can see them. But until the bid closes, we're only able to see the supplier name and that the quote is active. We can't see anything else. So if you submit your bid, do you see that I submitted a bid, Lisa? Yeah, I can, but I can't see any details. Until it opens, your analyst can't see anything, and that's the way it should be. But this is what we see. We'll see the supplier, we'll see their quote number, and we'll see their quote total. So that's the way we're looking at it in the system. So you can sort it high to low in alphabetical order, but that's what it looks like from our perspective. All right, so I went in and I opened up Professional Squares. I've opened their bid, and here's the bid header. And I can see immediately that they've attached the required documentation. So what we would do is we click each link, review it, and make sure if it's the completed bid section, we're gonna double check the numbers, make sure that's accurate, make sure it's filled out properly, and that's gonna be printed. Descriptive literature, I'm gonna open that. They say here it's for M457 Kelly carpet and padding set. So they scanned it, I guess, into one document. But we're gonna open it and make sure that we have exactly what's needed. Check on that one. On warranty information, they should have warranty on the carpet, padding, and their warranty. I only see one document, but we'll open it and see what it contains. If it has all three and it addresses it, check on that. So now we're gonna go, we can go to the next screen. Thank you. Okay. And we'll see if we scroll down, the bidder's quote price is displayed, but we already saw that in the summary in this screen before. All right, so this is a quick, it's not a bid tabulation report, but this is like a quick side-by-side comparison of the bids that we did for this example or demonstration here. We have three bidders, bidder 1, 2, and 3. Here's the bid section, so we can compare their pricing across, and then we also made a list of the required documentation. Square foot unit prices listed on bid section. Is the bid section attached? Is the grand total entered in Oracle? Do they have the descriptive product literature, and is the warranty information attached? So for bidder 1, we see, well, I've already listed, they are conforming. Now, I don't know at this point if the carpet would be acceptable. What I'm looking for is, have they responded to this bid accurately? It's gonna be up to the collaboration team to review and say, okay, if they have the MK457 carpeting, they might say, no way, that's cheap material. We're not gonna accept that. It's gonna wear out in 2 years. Now that's up to them. If they do reject that based on, because of the quality of the material, then they'll write a justification, if that supplier were the low bidder. So, okay, side by side. So we say that yes, they are conforming. Look what bidder 2 did. Let's see what's wrong with their particular bid, if you guys can see that.
No literature, no warranty.
Okay. So they're non-conforming. We discussed that already. I mean, that was a must. They had to include that. And then bidder number 3, it appears to be the apparent low bidder based on price, and they also provided all the information that was required. So what would happen at this point is, because bidder number 2, if their bid is non-conforming, we go in and disqualify them immediately. So before we even unseal it and let the collaboration team or requesting division know that the bid is available to be analyzed, that quote won't be included, because purchasing has analyzed it, and we see right off the bat they're non-conforming. So when it goes to the division, they'll see the bidder 1 and 3. Okay. So just quick overview on quote analysis. After purchasing analysis of the quotations to determine conforming bids, the analyst will email the division to notify that bids are available for analysis. The division will perform their analysis of quotes. When analyzing the bids, the division will make sure, as purchasing did, that the supplier has met the specifications, has attached any required documents such as the bid section, samples, quotes, references, price list, technical information, warranty, product specs. And the division will recommend to purchasing the lowest and best bid, and they'll send us their B&C with their written award recommendation. And then purchasing will in turn verify that that's accurate. Then we'll start the next step. And that's the award process. And this, before we move on, any questions so far? Okay, all right, award process. After analyzing the RFQ, the division will complete a B&C, which is the bid and contract agenda sheet / purchase order award recommendation form, and they'll send that to purchasing. The bid tabulation report and the B&C is emailed to the analyst in the division, and the division's director, of course, will approve that. The bid award recommendation is verified by purchasing, and then if it's for a PO, we'll contact the supplier and request and let them know you have an award pending, and we'll request the insurance if there was a bond for some reason, not normally for a purchase order, but we're going to ask them to go ahead and send us that information, and they should have it to us within 5 days. Okay, and for a contract number is created in Oracle, or it's initiated. It's not completed or executed, but we initiate the process. The suppliers who submitted their quotations, they're going to receive automatic email notifications saying, you know, if you get a notification that your bid was rejected, so you weren't awarded. It doesn't mean that it was rejected off the bat. I mean, it was conforming, but it's rejected for award. And if you get the notification that it was accepted, then you'll be hearing from the analyst soon, you know, requesting the insurance. Okay, and then for contracts, after the supplier submits the insurance, any bond information, then they'll go in and provide their electronic signature, and then once they do that, we send the contract through administration for signatures, and once we have all the signatures, the mayor signed it, the purchasing agent executes it in Oracle, and then we send that signature page to the supplier, and then let them know, wait for a notice to proceed from the division, but your contract is executed. So you're ready to go as soon as the division sends your written notice to proceed. Okay. All right. And just common issues. We'd like to, I think we've discussed them all, but just to reconfirm what we discussed, and also some focus points and helpful hints. All right, the common issues we've identified with supplier quotations in response to RFQs is incomplete documentation that we just reviewed and discussed, missing a bid section, literature, if they ask for a site, or if a site visit is mandatory and there's a site visit form, that's how you communicate, I went to the site visit. And if it says in the specs, take this form with you, print it out, take it, make sure it's filled in, and whoever you completed the site visit with that works for the city, make sure that person signs off on it, and then attach it to your quotation. It's very important. It's mandatory. You have to confirm that you performed that particular requirement or completed it. Questions are not submitted in a timely manner. Mr. Ford also spoke on that. If you have a question, it is our pleasure to help you if it's submitted in a timely manner. It's always our pleasure to help you, but if a questions must be submitted within 3 days prior to the bid closing, or we can waive them. If you ask a question the day before bid closes, we'll try our best. Purchasing may not have that answer, unless if it's in regards to purchasing. How do I navigate the system? Definitely we can help there. What if you have a question on the specs? We have to go to the division that actually put the specs together. That takes time. We can try to answer that question, or we may have to waive it. And there's just no time to answer it. But if you're unclear on anything, do not hesitate to ask the question. Submit the question in writing via the online discussions tool. It is our pleasure to help you, but make sure that it's a timely question. Okay, multiple unit prices. Do not quote a price, say in a bid section, and then you enter something different in Oracle, unless that's what the specifications call for. If a space is given on a form for a particular unit price, give us one unit price. Don't give multiple ones. Because you're not, I mean, that's not how can we analyze that bid? If you say on one sheet, it's $15 per square foot, and on another place, it's $13. You've given two different unit prices. You can't analyze that. That's a non-conforming bid. Okay, alternate bid or quotation submitted when specifications do not state that alternate bids may be submitted. Anyone know what an alternate bid is? Okay, that's a bid. Say that we're looking for a particular type of, we'll stick with the carpeting. But you say, all right, I have a different brand, it's not similar to the brand that's called for in the specifications. Maybe it's way different, a way more, I don't know why you'd offer a more expensive brand, but it's something well different than what's described in the specs, excuse me. That's an alternate bid. So if the specifications do not allow for that, and you offer an alternate bid, your quote can't be considered for award. Or if you bid to spec and then say, well, here's another option. If the specs do not allow for that, then your bid can't be considered for award. So if the specs say alternate bids are allowed, and here's how you present it, it'll tell you exactly what to do to offer that alternate product, or alternate service, but it must specifically allow for that. If you just choose to do it arbitrarily on your own, you're gonna get disqualified. So bid to spec. Unsigned hard copy quotations, we talked about that right off the bat. Make sure you sign your bid. I always encourage suppliers to submit their bid online, because that way, quotes are not getting lost in the mail. You send them FedEx, you can track it, but if you send it a couple of days before it's due, FedEx doesn't make it up to purchasing, but someone received it in the building. If it's not in purchasing, your bid's late and it's not gonna be accepted. So bid online is my recommendation. That way you know your bid is submitted. You can go in and change it online as long as it's not closed. You can go in and change it. You'll receive a confirmation. You'll have your quote number. But if you have to submit a hard copy quotation, then make sure you physically sign it. Okay? And late submissions, of course, they're not going to be submitted. Know the date, time, and the location where bids must be submitted. Okay? And some focus areas. We talked about that. I don't think I'll read through all of the information, because I think we've hit it pretty good. Set your company up to receive email notifications. Start now. If you're not registered, when you go back, if you have your W-9 information, go ahead and get registered. You can do it today. It doesn't take long. That's how you start to do business with the city. That's how you start the relationship, or as far as purchasing and participating in the bid process, I would say. And start early. If you set your company up to where you have a good email address, it's being monitored, then as soon as you receive that notification, don't wait until a day or two before the bid closes. Because to me, as an analyst, and also I was in the manufacturing, distribution, putting quotes together at the last minute, it never works. You always miss something. Going on an assumption, engineers saying, well, we can do, here's the production rate, we assume. No, you need to do a test run to make sure. So start early, ask the questions, submit your questions via online discussions. It is our pleasure to help you understand. It is our pleasure to do that. Okay? All right, get clarification, use the online discussion tools, and here's a great tool. It even helps me. If you don't know how to navigate the system, there is a supplier training guide on the city website that's available 24/7 as long as the internet is up. And how you get there, go to the city website, click on doing business with the city, and then under useful links, you're gonna see a link for the supplier training guide. It has screenshots, step by step. Here's what you do. Say you get a contract and you don't know how to sign it online. If you download that supplier training guide, or just remember where it is, go to the table of contents, signing contracts online. It'll tell you step by step what to do. Because when suppliers say, hey, I don't know how to sign it, I don't sign contracts every day, I go and use this guide and say, let me help you. Then I also say, can I direct you to the supplier training guide for future reference? Because there are different things that suppliers have questions on, but we're not working on the supplier side, so I rely on it. It is a wonderful tool to help you. How to manage your account. I mean, if you need to change anything, you want to look at your receivables, your POs, all of that information is on your supplier account, and if you want to know how to navigate it, use that guide. Okay? And be prepared to be awarded. So you've done all of this, and now, ring ring, or you get the email, hey, you have an award pending. And guess what? We want the insurance, we want the COI, we want the endorsements. That's 3 different documents, not a COI and no endorsements, or it says that you're the additional insured on the COI. What do you want from me? No, we have to have those endorsements. And guess what? That shouldn't be a surprise because it's in the RFQ terms and conditions. So read it, understand it, that if you get that award, we're gonna be contacting you and we want that information within 5 days. We don't want the procurement to stretch out over this time, so by the time we execute it now, our prices are different. That's not gonna work. So be prepared to be awarded. Know that we want the COI, we want it with effective policy date. If it calls for a fidelity bond, a bid bond, performance, well, not bid bond at this point, professional liability, don't let that be a surprise to you at the award stage. Be prepared to provide that information, and we're not gonna hit you with anything at the back end. All of this is gonna be in the RFP terms and conditions. That's why it's important to read that as well as the specifications. So, all right. That's the end. Any questions for me? All right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I want that presentation.
You do?
I do. Can you know?
I think I can. Let me get the okay first.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, you can.
yeah.
I would like that.
I don't see why. I mean, all that, I mean, it's just showing screenshots
Yeah, so
of information that's already out there.
Exactly. I got some clients that.
Okay, sure thing.
Okay, our office is responsible for the city's Equal Business Opportunity Program, or the EBO program, the Small Business Enterprise, or SBE program. We are located in City Hall, which is at 125 North Main Street in Suite 546. Our office number is 636-6210, and our staff consists of my manager, which is Mary Bright, she's the contract compliance officer, myself, and my colleague, Vincent Moody, who is the other contract compliance analyst. The EBO program, let me stop. Is everybody registered to do business with the city in here? Yes, no, no? So, you have not, okay. So that is the first thing you should do when you go back to your office or to home. Register to be a supplier. Do that right off the bat, doesn't cost you anything, and it only takes a few minutes to do that. Then after you've done that, we want you to get certified. And is anyone in here certified or even know what certification is? Okay. You are certified, or
Yeah, I have a question because I have the self-certified through the SBA and I'm on SAM.
okay?
And I was reading through the requirements here, if that was sufficient or if I had to do something more.
It's totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah. With our, here, I'll go here so I don't confuse anybody. With our program, your firm, your company must be 51% owned, operated, and controlled by MWBE. And MWBE is an African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, male or female, or women, Caucasian only. Now let me pause right there because that is always a topic of discussion. For the City of Memphis diversity programs, when you are certified, I will use you, is it a woman-owned company? Okay, so if you were to go get certified we use 3 certification agencies. We use UCA, Uniform Certification Agency, and we also use WBEC, which is the Women Business Enterprise Council. And the third one is Tri-State Minority Supplier Development Council, for short, Tri-State, LBC, something like that. If you were to go through WBEC, as a female, of course, your certificate will say WBE. But when you come to the city to do business, you would be considered a MBE because the only WBE is a Caucasian female. But that's just for the City of Memphis. Anywhere else, you would be a WBE. So, again, that's always a topic of discussion, always a thorn in our side, but that's how it is in our ordinance. Your principal place of business must be located in Shelby County, Fayette County, Crittenden County, Tipton, DeSoto, Marshall, Tate, or Tunica counties. For our SBE program, it is race, gender neutral. So anybody can participate in it as long as your principal office is within the City of Memphis. You must have a Shelby County business license. Your taxes must be current. Your size threshold designated by SBE standards depending on the industry of the business. This is a sheltered market program, and the SBE was established with the goal of awarding at least 25% of city contracting and purchase order dollars to small businesses. This program was created in 2010 as a result of our disparity study. What this allows you to do is, whereas most of the time you would be a sub on a contract, this allows you to be the prime. So we call it the subcontractor program because it's somewhat smaller bids, something where you can bid on it yourself and not be a sub. The only certification agency that does this certification is UCA. They're the only one. So definitely consider getting SBE certified because we've had quite a few bids go out as SBE, right, Lisa? I know, caught y'all guard, sorry. But we've had a lot, so definitely consider that certification. Now back to your question. No, we could not accept your certification. You would have to go through one of the three in order to be a part of our program. Will that change? We hope. We hope to be able to consider more agencies, but as of right now, it's just 3.
So you have to do it using a third-party agency. It's not something that you can do yourself, like all the other.
Okay. And our office, as you saw, is only 3 people. We could possibly begin to do the certification. It's a lot involved, but not only that, you probably wouldn't want a government agency to do that because it would be considered open record. So someone could request to see more information if they wanted to because it's in our hands. So you definitely wouldn't want that anyways. But again, we're looking and talking about using some other companies. So hopefully soon we'll be able to accept more certifications. Okay, next slide. One of the new processes that we have in place is once you are certified, it used to be where you got certified and you automatically got added to our list. Now you have to take another step. And that step is you should register with our office. All that is you would go to this link, you would fill out the application, you would upload your certification certificates, business license, and a copy of the affidavit, which it's on there for you to sign, and you have to keep your information current. What that means is when your certification expires, you have to come back to this link and upload the current certificate because when you expire, you automatically fall off the list on the date that you expire. We do notify you, we send out a 90-day, reminder, and then we send out a 60-day, and we send out a 30-day. So there's no reason for you to forget. But again, you have to do this if you want to be on the city's list. The city's list means when a bid comes to our office for review before it goes out, it comes to our office for review so that we can put a minority participation goal on it. The only way the goal can be put on it, we have to look at the certified list and we have to see what company, if this is a bid for carpet, we have to see how many companies we have certified that are willing, ready, and able to do this work. Based on that, we set a goal. So when the prime puts together his bid, he has to select someone from our certified list in order to fulfill that goal. So that's why it is very advantageous that when you get certified, register with our office so you're on the list. Is that kind of confusing or everybody understand that a little bit? Yes? Next slide. Again, here are the 3 certification agencies that we use or that we accept. UCA, WEBAC, and Tri-State MSDC. And that's all of mine. Any questions?
Good. My name is Myron Mays. I'm the Vice President and Director of Communications and Development for Black Business Association of Memphis. We're located right here in this building. I have been with the organization probably actually going on 10 years now. My mom always told me, you don't never stay nowhere, you don't stick with nothing. Ha. Anyway, so basically we've actually been here in this building probably about 12 years, of course, before I got here. However, we've been in existence since 1974. Here in recent years, we've been supported largely by the city of Memphis. So, of course, we're housed in this facility here. What we mainly do, for the most part, we help people to start their businesses. If they're already in business, we help you to grow those businesses as well. You do not have to be Black nor a member of BBA to actually get help. We're here from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, every day. So if there's anything that you can think of that we might be able to be helpful to you, definitely come on by and give us a shout. If you can't come up with anything where you think we might be helpful to you, come by anyway. I think maybe out of about 10, 15 minutes worth of talking, we'll come up with something that we'd be able to assist you with. But myself, along with Ricky Tucker, who is the Director of Business Services, and Roby S. Williams, who is also he's President and CEO of the organization, we have a vast background of various skills. My background is nonprofit and marketing, social media, advertising type thing. Roby, his background has been banking and advertising for a number of years. And also Ricky does business coaching. So at some point during your journey, we can actually, sit down with you and help you to sort of, put together a strategy on how you can grow. So we're mainly here to, if you have not decided exactly what you want to do, what we try to do is talk to you a little bit and, pick your brain. We talk about some of the things you might be good at, and we help you to sort of, develop that concept of what you'd like to do. And in most cases, we help you to be able to become good at that particular thing and market it well so that ultimately you can do what you got in business to do. And does anybody know what that is? Exactly. Thank you, sir. You win the prize. And Ricky and our office and myself, we're actual small business owners too. So a lot of the things that, we sit down and talk to you about, a lot of those things we've actually done ourselves or either in the process of doing, or we just absolutely know that it does not work. So, out of all of those things, you'll get some insight on some of the things that you can do. Will hopefully, spark some ideas and everything in your heads, or we can actually tell you, hey, I know this won't work because I did it and it did not work at all. So we'll have a little bit of experience to offer you as well. And we're right around the corner here. Again, 9 to 5, we're here. You can walk in the office at any time and probably find at least one of us. And my name is Myron Mays. If you have any questions at all, just give me a shout. Any questions? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna run right back around the corner and grab a handful of them, so they'll be on the table right there when we get ready to leave. Any more questions? I guess I nailed it then. All right, just give us a shout. And I'm going to have some cards right there in the back here in just a couple of minutes. Just give us a call if you need us.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Alexander. I'm the director for the Memphis Area Minority Contractors. I don't have all this stuff to say like Myron did. Professionally, we help and train contractors in a nutshell, from A to Z. Anything with infrastructure. If you're not in construction, you don't need to know me. If you are in construction, you should know me. We offer opportunities. We get referrals. We get the bids from the city. We have a partnership with Moore, as well as the Office of Contract Compliance. When you have issues and you can't get to them, come see me. Actually, come see me first, because they're very busy, and I probably could get the answer done if I don't know. Great information that you guys got today. This room should have been full. That information hasn't been given out before. I mean, how many times do you not think of the process when you submit a bid and it's taking forever to get an answer back? And you're trying to figure out, okay, where did my bid go? Who has it? Who's looking at it? Where is it gonna go after they look at it? You know, did I win? Did I lose? Did I miss something? She gave it all to you today. This was priceless. And I mean, I'm serious. Because how many times have I want our presentation. Because I've, you know, talking to contractors and they're asking me, okay, we submitted the bid, we haven't heard anything. Where did we come in at? I don't know. You know, I have to get on the phone and start calling. Or wait till it's released so I can see it. If I can't see it, then I'm on the phone with Mary or Tanya. Somebody help me. I got a client that's looking to know the bid. So that information was priceless. Andre, I know he did an amazing job. Mr. Ford, I know he probably let everybody know everything they need to know about estimating. That is very important. That is your money. If you are in construction and you do not know how to read blueprints or estimate, you are doomed for failure. You have to know. Even if you have the money to go and hire somebody to do it, nothing is as keen as your own eye. This is your baby, your company. It's just having a newborn and walking to the street and telling somebody, feed my child. You don't trust that, so don't trust your company in just anybody's hands. So learn those skills. Here we offer 2 classes a month pertaining to construction. We offer networking sessions. If there's a big project coming out, we'll bring the prime in so you guys can get to meet them. Anytime, I don't have a yearly curriculum because I really go on need. I listen to what the street says. I listen to what the contractor says. If they need estimating, then we do estimating class. They need to know how to do books. We do a bookkeeping class. So as time goes, I'm sure we're going to probably develop some type of curriculum so that we can have ongoing classes that, you know, if you miss this one, you know in 6 months you can get it again. But really, it just benefits me when I know I'm giving you what you need. Except of just giving a class. I'm giving something that you really do need. Like I said, I'm going to be short and brief. I'm in construction. Stephanie Alexander called me. If I don't know, I find out. We don't offer, and one thing, we don't give jobs out. So I don't give jobs that I can call and say, here's a job. But what I can do is refer you to a job, and it's up for you to make the contact with the owner. Okay, any questions?
I have a comment. Stephanie Alexander works very hard. If y'all don't know Stephanie, you need to know Stephanie. Need to be a member, Renaissance Business Center.
Yeah, it's the Memphis Area Minority Contractors. Yes. It is a membership base. It's $300 a year. That $300 goes to bringing people in to give you that information. I don't teach any classes. If it's a class to be taught, the professional comes in and teach it. Thank you so much. But yeah, I always invest. Even if you don't become a member, remember, I'm making decisions for you. Do you really want me to make decisions for you? Let me know what you think. Let me know what you feel. You know, sometimes, you know, people come and they just pour their heart out. I need to know that. So when I'm sitting in a meeting with the mayor, I can say, that doesn't work. Some of the things, I will. I mean, because what do I have to lose?
Right.
Because I work for contractors. And I understand when you're in business, you don't want your face out front saying it doesn't work. But if I got a fall guy, I'm the fall guy. I do it. I just was in a meeting with Mayor and Jack Salmon. I didn't know that man. He probably like, this lady here is crazy. Because the things you put in place are not making sense. We keep doing it and doing what they call it insane. You keep doing it looking for a different result. We keep doing it and doing it and doing it. It's just the same thing. So come on now, let's stop that and try something different. But neither here nor there. I'm kind of tired. But anyway, at the end of the day, if you need help, I'm here to help you. I'm a one-woman shop. I don't have any employees. I do every now and then get an intern to come in and help me. I beg and plead from everybody in the building. Leslie has been amazing. Tanya has been amazing. Myra, I grab anybody. Anybody who got a free hand, I'd be like, look, I need help. So anytime you want to come up and just look at plans, I send out bids on Mondays. If you see something that you want, come talk to me. Come do it. I mean, don't be afraid. If you're afraid and you're kind of like, don't know if I can do that or not, let's walk through the process. I know this process. Let's walk through this process. I have jobs available at Habitat. For those that's in the room that's in construction, please go to habitatmemphis.com. They're looking for contractors. they're ready to hire you on the spot. Go to Habitat. When I don't send any junk emails out. Everything I send out pertains to construction. If it doesn't pertain to construction, it didn't come from me, it's a scam. Okay? Any questions?
I have one more comment.
No, stop.
I probably should have. Tomorrow it's 5:30. 5:30, right?
Mhm.
5:30, 7:30. We'll be doing a more in-depth class of how to put together bid and some estimating stuff. We'll also be doing some classes coming up on books, could be just standard construction stuff in order to get your money. Okay, because I do a lot of consulting for people that their businesses falter because they don't know how to submit an application for payment to be paid. If you do that with the city of Memphis, you're going to already be behind about 60 days anyway. You will be behind a lot more if you don't know how to submit. And that's for construction. It's everything. Cash flow is everything. If you don't have your cash flow, you're done. Okay, so we'll be doing some construction book classes and estimating classes and project management stuff here coming up.
And he is so right. I get those calls every day. Like, keep it out. No, I'm giving it to him. I get that call so often. Contractors call because they're looking for payment. I don't always want to engage when it's bad. Give me when it's good. Call me when you got a new job. I want to hear about that. Not always, well, Miss Stephanie, I'm 60 days and I don't have a payment. And here I go on the phone calling Eric saying, Eric, okay, where's our payment? We'll go to finance. Now I'm, talking to Miss Nice in finance. Can I get a check to somebody? I don't always want it to be bad. I want the good news too. I want to know that you won the bid. Call and let me know you won the bid. But he's so absolutely right. Like I said, estimating bookkeeping, estimating and reading blueprints, that's the key to success in construction. And if you don't get that, get out of it because you will lose. In this game, and continue, is not for the sophomores. If you don't have a heart and a strong and will-minded, you will get ran over in this business. Because nobody feels sorry for you. Once that bid hit the city, it's bam, 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 bam. And I'm like, stop! They didn't do it right. They don't care. Because once you check that you acknowledge it, it's gone. And I'm calling Landis, can you stop that bid? I'm calling Mary. They messed up. Don't send it through. But that's the game. That's the game. And if you're not strong and will-minded, you will get ran over in this business. So just so you guys know, like I said, if you're in construction, bid, but know what you're bidding. Understand your product, what you have. Treat it as though it's your baby. Don't let anybody else take it and do what they want to do with it. You control the environment. Okay? Thank you.